He's never texted me once asking to see the kids.
Again, it's just I'm hearing different stories.
Co-parenting, not going great.
You know, if you're not communicating, it's very difficult to co-parent effectively.
What do you make of the reclaiming that you haven't texted her once to see your children?
It's not true, but I'm not going to discuss the kids on TMZ.
Okay.
I learned that the house went into pre-foreclosure when the rest of the world did.
My husband is too busy torturing me.
Welcome back to Celebrity News Addict. Today, we're diving into the explosive new developments in the devastating divorce battle between Dorit and PK Kemsley. Since my last update just 8 months ago, this separation has spiraled into an all-out war involving addiction claims, financial ultimatums, custody tensions, and very public social media attacks. So in this video, we're getting into it all, including PK's alcoholism and sobriety journey, the shocking 7-page email demanding financial control, new context on the foreclosure threats on their multi-million-dollar home and missed mortgage payments, the escalating custody battle, Dorit's relentless public attack on PK, and most recently, PK's headline-making Instagram outbursts. From peaceful reunions to public teardowns and moments of clarity, a lot has happened since season 14 concluded. And with season 15 currently airing, Dorit and PK are no closer to finding resolution. In fact, they're even further apart than ever, with no end in sight. As always, we've got a lot to cover. And trust me, it only gets messier from here. So let's get straight into it. Let's get started with a quick recap of the relationship timeline, divorce filing, and the mess that was the first half of last year, before getting into the latest news. If you're already up to date, feel free to skip ahead to the timestamp on screen to get straight into the breaking headlines. So, Dorit and PK met back in 2011, and the first 10 years of their marriage seemed to be picture perfect. They were married on March 7th, 2015, and Dorit joined Real Housewives of Beverly Hills shortly after, becoming a housewife in season 7, which aired in late 2016 and always presented Dorit and PK as a couple who were very much in love. The first sign of cracks appeared a decade into this couple's love story, when, in October 2021, Dorit was robbed at gunpoint in their home in Encino Hills, while Phoenix and Jagger were both at home, but PK was away in London on a business trip. This trauma led to Dorit struggling with PTSD and was the first sign the public saw of a rift in their perfect relationship, as Dorit tried to overcome her trauma with very little support from PK or the other housewives, who accused her of faking the burglary for insurance fraud. And it was this horrifying incident that marked the start of Dorit and PK's downward spiral, as in 2023, rumours started flying that the pair were headed for separation. At the time, they both avidly denied these rumours, and even filmed marriage counselling sessions to show them working through their troubles. But their hard work and public denials weren't enough, and they sadly announced their separation on Instagram in May 2024. In their public statement, the couple noted that they had had, quote, struggles over the last few years, which they were trying to work through, but they needed time apart to reevaluate the relationship. Pause now to read the full statement. Then, in November 2024, the space between the couple grew wider, as it was revealed that they were in pre-foreclosure on their $8 million home after receiving a notice of default, which stated that they owed $298,556 on the property, and had missed more than 4 months of mortgage payments. At the time, the public believed that the pair were both aware of the money struggles and couldn't afford to make the payments, with an insider stating that, quote, they've missed mortgage payments, and Dorit is freaking out that they'll lose their house. They added, Dorit is putting blame on PK for mismanaging their finances, and was, quote, mortified that everyone knows the glamorous life they led is a sham, and they're drowning in debt. According to Dorit, she had no idea that PK had stopped paying the mortgage. He simply woke up one day and chose to stop paying. And since, like so many others, she was naive and let him control their finances, she had no idea that these vital bills weren't being paid.
I learned that the house went into pre-foreclosure when the rest of the world did. At the very least, if you're not going to pay the mortgage, tell me you're not paying the mortgage. Let me in on it. Right. These things, they're public, and then I have to answer for it.
Anyway, jumping back to 2024, and the foreclosure notice was rescinded on April 9th, almost 5 months after it was issued, as Dorit and PK had paid off the money that they owed. But this, coupled with the insurance fraud allegations, had already lit a match and had all the internet sleuths avidly investigating Dorit and PK's finances. And they found a lot more skeletons in PK's closet, as it was uncovered that PK had previously owed $2.27 million to the Las Vegas Bellagio Casino, which he paid off in January 2022. And as of 2023, Dorit reportedly faced debts of $90,269 to the IRS, while PK owed a combined total of $986,887 to the IRS and the state of California, which they're believed to still be paying off. But despite sticking with him through the money struggles, resentment, and trauma, Dorit finally filed a petition for divorce on Friday, April 25th, 2025, after PK was photographed kissing and holding hands with Amazing Race contestant Shayna Wall on Thursday, April 24th. Although Dorit and PK were separated at the time, this was the final straw for Dorit, and she knew that the relationship she had was gone for good. At the time, an inside source said, quote, Dorit and PK had promised each other if they were to see other people, they would not be so public for the children's sake. They added, quote, the divorce was already in the works, and after the photos came out, she was ready to file. And it was this kiss that rapidly transported the divorce from amicable separation to a dirty public war. Speaking on this at the time, a source explained, they aren't too friendly right now, after the photos came out, adding, quote, Dorit feels like it was calculated with the intent to hurt her, and she was hurt. She felt stabbed in the heart. So, those were the events that led up to the divorce. Now, let's quickly recap on the details of the filing. Dorit filed first and cited irreconcilable differences as the reason for their split. She also requested spousal support from PK and asked for sole legal and physical custody of Jagger and Phoenix, claiming that PK would disappear and be gone for weeks and weeks without even calling the kids. A trick he still seems to be playing if this season is anything to go by. Then, on May 9th, 2 weeks after Dorit filed for divorce, PK submitted his response. In his documents, PK also cited irreconcilable differences, but fought back against Dorit's request for sole custody, instead requesting joint custody of the pair's 2 minor children. He also waived his right to spousal support and requested the court terminate Dorit's request for spousal support, insisting they both pay their own attorney's fees and costs. Since the couple had no prenup in place to protect either of their rights, income, or assets, PK also requested a division of assets and debts, including any earnings since the date of separation, jewellery and personal items, any other separate property assets, and obligations, which were to be detailed later. And speaking of assets, not only did the divorce filing mark the start of an ugly war between the pair, but it also triggered yet more financial struggles, as on May 6th, it was reported that Dorit and PK were once again on the verge of losing their home, since it had been purchased under Dorit's LLC, Alden Road, back in 2019. But the LLC had been suspended by the Franchise Tax Board, allegedly due to a loan default from PK's failure to make mortgage payments. Attorney Ronald Richards told the US Sun, quote, for the FTB to suspend in the entity, they have not paid taxes or filed returns for a while. He explained that this could mean that the mortgage lender may default the loan if Dorit can't rectify the suspension of her LLC. But in order for Dorit's LLC to be taken out of suspension by the FTB, she and PK would have to get caught up on any back taxes they owe or face foreclosure, which would be easier said than done, as both PK and Dorit's assets were essentially frozen due to the impending divorce. So that's where we left things in our previous video. But since then, the drama hasn't stopped, with battles over addiction and sobriety, financial demands, ultimatums, secret meetups, custody wars, and social media standoffs still raging on. Plus, more light has been shed on the breakdown of PK and Dorit's relationship. Let's get into it. Let's start with PK's struggles with addiction, as I think this adds a whole layer of extra context to the dramatic shift in the relationship. So, since their split, Dorit has been very vocal about PK's struggles with alcoholism, stating that this was one of the main triggers for their separation as it built resentment between the two of them. One big incident that was clearly a huge trigger for Dorit was PK's DUI back in 2021, the same year as the house robbery. Let's quickly rewind and dive into what happened. On November 23rd, 2021, less than 1 month after the house robbery, PK was arrested by California Highway Patrol while driving on the 101 in LA. Allegedly, PK blew a .81 during a breathalyzer test, which is .01 over the legal .8 limit. He was subsequently taken to the station where he took another breathalyzer and blew a .73 before being driven home by the authorities. At the time, PK's lawyer confirmed the incident, claiming, while out with a business colleague, PK consumed a glass of wine with dinner. Following a traffic stop, it was determined that he may have been close to the legal limit. He regrets the fact he did not take alternate transportation home that evening. PK takes the allegations extremely seriously and fully cooperated with the authorities. This would mark the first and only such incident in PK's long driving history. He has learned a valuable lesson. After the initial news on this broke, things went quiet for a while regarding PK's drinking, until 2023, when, amid rumours that PK and Dorit's marriage was on the rocks, Sutton revealed in one of her confessionals that although it was reported that PK was alone in the car during the incident, she had heard that, quote, he may have or may not have had a woman in the car with him, claiming, that's the only rumour I've ever heard. Although Dorit defended PK and shut down these rumours at the time with her Instagram statement that the pair were working through things together, as soon as the split occurred, it didn't take long for her to start throwing accusations PK's way, as season 14 premiered with Dorit referring to PK as a full-blown alcoholic and stating that his drinking has got progressively worse over the years.
Did you say anything to the kids yet or not really?
No, and we're not going to. We can be doing things as a family like we're not in a toxic place. He's got a sober coach. That I'm not
What?
privy to that. No, this is
Real?
he's a
Is it-
full-blown alcoholic.
At the time that these first episodes of season 14 aired, one fan noted that PK's name was mentioned 23 times in a single episode where he didn't even appear. In response, he told the fan, quote, 23 is my daughter Phoenix's birthday. It's my mum's birthday, and it's my birthday. Think we'll be okay. Then, on September 14th, 2024, 1 month after season 14 of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills finished filming, PK posted an image to Instagram with a caption that went into detail about what it has been like to navigate his sobriety and why he decided to do this publicly. He wrote, quote, I'm 9 months sober today. I made a decision to share my sober journey publicly. Why? Firstly, to try in my small way to help break the stigma associated with addiction. You're pretty lucky if you've never seen drink or drugs change a person you love. So for anyone on the same journey as me, congratulations. For anyone who is considering getting sober, I know it's tough and the decision is walked with fear. But I read that fear is a mile wide and an inch deep. So it looks like this ocean you're gonna step into and drown, but as soon as you step into it, you find out it's not that deep at all, and you can keep walking through it. He continued, I miss drinking for sure, still, but 9 months in, the benefits are so freaking huge. You get to witness your life as it's supposed to be experienced. Raw, real, and beautiful. You get to sit in the pain and it passes. You get to look and feel better. It's so strong and empowering, I can't begin to tell you. Thanks so much for the overwhelming support I've had. For all the DMs, it def helps you stay on track. As do posts like this that make me accountable. Love, PK. This was followed a couple of months later by an interview on Bravo's Hot Mic podcast, where PK once again spoke openly about his struggles with addiction and sobriety, and Dorit's lack of understanding around it. Let's take a look.
I was shocked, disappointed and upset at what Dorit had to say. First of all, I'm really proud and public about my sobriety, and I'm 12 months in 2 weeks. My public sharing of my sobriety was about recovery. It was to inspire other people that it doesn't matter how dark it gets, you can recover. I'm in full-blown recovery. That's the term, full-blown. That's where it should be used. There is no fully blown alcoholic. You're either an alcoholic or you're not. So Dorit's lack of understanding about sobriety is not her fault. She hasn't invested in it. It is tough to watch. It is a period in time and it brings a lot back. So I did struggle with the first episode, but I'm not angry. I'm just sad to watch it.
Despite his honourable, grounded point of view in this interview, PK was clearly taking Dorit for a wild ride, as the next update surrounding the pair's finances came in early 2025, deep into the separation, but before the official divorce filing, when Dorit revealed in season 14, episode 10, that she had received a 7-page email from PK detailing finances and custody following their split. Speaking on the email during filming, which occurred sometime between May to August 2024, Dorit described the email as angry and horrible, saying, quote, "I wake up to a 7-page email and it was a barrage. It was predominantly financials. His expectations were, within a month or two, that I will be responsible for the mortgage and all the bills associated with the house." She continued, "There was also discussion of custody, lawyers, and threats of, if this doesn't happen, I'll be proceeding with divorce." At the time, Erica urged her to get a lawyer and figure out the state of their financials for herself, so as not to repeat Erica's mistakes. Dorit stated, quote, "He is not a man I recognize at all," and referred to herself as the token idiot wife, who was in the dark about the couple's finances. This document was another nail in the coffin for Dorit, as after receiving it, she claimed she was ready to go to war, stating, "Once you get to that headspace, it's not going to be easy to pull back." Then, on January 1st, 2025, PK posted a quote from a T.S. Eliot poem to his Instagram. The quote read, "For last year's words belong to last year's language, and next year's words await another voice." This suggested that it was time for a fresh start for PK, and things did seem to be turning around, as after the official divorce filing in April 2025 and the carnage that ensued, there was a moment of short-lived peace in August where it looked as though the pair reached a truce. On August 8th, 2025, Dorit was interviewed by TMZ, where she spoke about the current relationship, custody, and divorce filing, claiming it's one day at a time and there are good days and bad days, but hinting that a reunion could be possible.
How are you holding up after filing for divorce? I mean, my heart breaks for you.
Oh, it's very sweet. Thank you. Listen, it's one day at a time. It's one day at a time. There are good days, there are not so good days. It's not easy, but, we do the best we can, and as long as the kids are good, I'm good.
Of course. Any chance of reconciliation? A lot of people are going to ask that.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I tell you, there are days where I think I can't imagine that ever being possible. But
okay.
you never know. You never know.
Then, on August 14th, TMZ released video footage of Dorit and PK out in Sherman Oaks in LA. According to the report, the pair were sharing a quiet dinner at a Japanese restaurant where witnesses said they looked relaxed and in great spirits. This marked their first, and maybe only, one-on-one outing that we know of since Dorit filed for divorce. At the time, sources told TMZ that their split was still making its way through the court system, but they still have love and passion for each other and are committed to co-parenting amicably. But in reality, this moment of peace was just the calm before the storm, as a couple of months later, in November 2025, both Dorit and PK spoke publicly about their custody arrangements, and things started really heating up once again. It all kicked off on November 4th when the trailer for Real Housewives of Beverly Hills Season 15 aired. In the trailer was a clip of Dorit having a sit-down meal with Mauricio.
He's never texted me once asking to see the kids.
Again, it's just I'm hearing different stories.
Then, at BravoCon 2025, on November 14th, Dorit was interviewed by Us Weekly, who asked how she was navigating her relationship with PK and raising their children. Dorit stated, quote, "It's challenging," adding that she is hoping that things will sort of straighten out, as it's really important that she and PK find a middle ground. She explained, quote, "We need to be able to prioritize our children. I'm hoping that at some point things will become a little bit less challenging. In response to all of Dorit's public statements, on November 19th, PK was interviewed by TMZ, who asked him what he made of Dorit's claims that he hadn't tried to see the children. His response was, "It's not true, but I'm not going to discuss the kids on TMZ." Let's take a look.
What do you make of Dorit claiming in the Housewives trailer that you haven't texted her once to see your children? What do you say about that?
It's not true, but I'm not going to discuss the kids on TMZ.
Okay, I understand. Well, what can you tell us about the current season of Housewives?
I haven't seen it.
And clearly, the tension over custody has been ongoing for a while, as on the December 11th episode of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills Season 15, which was filmed between May and September 2025, I assume before their peaceful moment in August, Dorit sat down with the other women and explained that PK was, quote, torturing her through the divorce.
My husband is too busy torturing me.
Is he back in LA right now?
He's back in LA. He came back after being gone weeks in Europe. My kids are supposed to go to Florida with their grandparents. They're so excited about going to Florida. And PK is now, I got a letter today from the lawyer saying that he's going to block it.
Speaking on how the children are coping at Jennifer Tilly's sip and draw party, Dorit said, "Jagger has been walking around like he's got the weight of the world. I don't see my son anymore. Do you know how heartbreaking that is for a mother?" Adding, "He's asking for my dad, not his own father, for my father." Elsewhere in the episode, Dorit revealed that she held a crying Jagger for over an hour before calling her parents, Rachel and Shalom Lamel, to come to take her kids to Florida. During her confessional in this episode, Dorit broke down, discussing how her kids continue to be impacted by her and PK's divorce. She explained, quote, "My kids, they needed love and support, and just to be around family. This is the first time I'm seeing the impact of mine and PK's divorce, and it's ripping my heart out of my chest." Discussing her and PK's separation during a separate scene, Dorit claimed that she's expected to pay for everything. In one of her confessionals, Dorit said, "I've not had a conversation with PK to learn what he's expecting me to pay or what he's paying. I just find out from the business manager if he decides he's no longer paying something, and it lands right in my lap. I don't know what's coming when it's coming. It's like he's dumped a lot of things in my lap without any notice." Adding that she's since hired a divorce attorney and a new business manager. Then, on December 12th, the day after this episode aired, Dorit appeared on Watch What Happens Live, where she was asked how she was getting on with PK and managing the relationship since the show had stopped filming.
What is the current status of you and PK? Dare I ask?
I know, and dare I answer? It's so unfortunate because it's unnecessarily
contentious?
Yeah, contentious and more challenging than it needs to be.
Okay.
It just doesn't need to be.
Still.
Yeah.
Okay. Co-parenting, not going great.
If you're not communicating, it's very difficult to co-parent effectively.
Yes.
Adding to this, Dorit later revealed on an episode of The After Show on December 15th that she has been in a perpetual state of heartbreak since the split. She stated, quote, "I think that I have been in a perpetual state of heartbreak. Truly, a perpetual state of heartbreak. Through the anger, through the resentment, through the sadness, through the hurt, heartbreak. Like, the foundation is heartbreak. And it's heartbreak on such a level that it's like, I just cannot wait till I can get past the heartbreak. And I have, on a surface level, but not deep. I struggle because I go between wanting to hate him enough to get over that hump and not." Then, on another episode of The After Show that was released a couple of days later on December 18th, Dorit revealed how this has left her really unstable and in the unknown about her financial liabilities. And it's honestly a shocking cautionary tale for anyone in a similar situation.
The thing is, I am a practitioner and I know how to do it. But what I'm struggling with is the clarity.
Yeah. You don't have any clarity.
That's right. Because I was not running finances and I was sort of
you didn't have
out of the
any
equation. No.
insight.
I always had financial independence. However, my life was so intertwined with PK.
Yes, that's the part. Yep.
So I feel liberated and I have the freedom to now go pursue things, whereas before I didn't. Because I've been very unbalanced because PK still has the power.
Yeah.
So I can't plan. I can't do Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no clarity. It's unfair.
Yeah.
And his finances, whatever he's doing, it's completely disconnected from the family. I would have never expected that from him. That's the truth. Now I look back and I think to myself, why did I not expect that from him?
And since Dorit has been back on our screens, the drama just keeps building momentum. As on January 15th, 2026, Dorit appeared on yet another episode of Watch What Happens Live, where she made another statement about their split.
Have to ask. No, I do. I mean, is it going any better with
You don't
with your
know how
ex
much
since-
I would love to be sitting here, you asking me that question, because you should. And obviously you're going to ask.
Right.
And say, yes, Andy.
Everything's much better.
So much
but
better.
it's not. No.
No.
Okay. I'm sorry.
On this same episode, Dorit was also asked if she has started dating again, or would be ready to date again. In response to this, she surprisingly said she hasn't been on any dates, but that she's ready, adding, "I'd like to kiss someone." This same day, in response to Dorit's appearance and discussions surrounding their relationship, PK took his turn to speak publicly. In a post to his Instagram stories, PK shared a photo of himself with the caption, "Dear life, I've had enough of the bullshit. Can we take a break, please?" But there was no break in sight, as Dorit continued to make allegations on the show and off that PK is not interested in seeing his children. During a conversation with Bose, she said, quote, "He travels a lot, so when he's in town, he'll have them on a Saturday night." Adding, "As far as my kids are concerned, when it comes to me, I only speak the best about their father. I used to do a lot to protect him. A lot. I know he's a master of his own disaster." Adding, "Do you really think, when I filed, that I was going to check that box giving him joint custody?" PK's response to my petition was to ask for joint custody, which I'm not surprised. Publicly, he wants to save face. PK does not have a lifestyle that he can have the kids 50% of the time. Clearly, this was the final straw, and PK has reached his breaking point, with Dorit's ongoing negative comments about him, including those that he's out of control and out for blood. As on February 6th, PK finally spoke out, posting a screenshot of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills logo to his Instagram story with the caption, "I will never badmouth the mother of my children." What do you guys think of this? Has Dorit gone too far, or is PK trying to save face against all of her accusations? Let me know in the comments below. One thing that is clear though, this drama isn't over. As we all know, Dorit is now ghostwriting her memoir, Unburdened, Moving On, Letting Go, and Putting It All on the Table, which is set to release later this year and is said to be pulling back the curtain on her personal life. In a statement announcing the release, Dorit stated, "For years, people have seen glimpses of my life, but this book is the full story. The beauty, the heartbreak, the fear, the fight, and the strength it took to become the woman I am today." Adding, "I'm writing this book not just to look back, but to move forward with determination, grace, and honesty." That's it for today's video. What do you guys think about this? Personally, I feel quite sad for PK. It's clear that during the marriage, he didn't do enough to support Dorit through her trauma. But it also seems that perhaps she wasn't the best support system for him during his sobriety journey either. And now she has totally flipped the script and is raining hell on him about their finances and custody, while he is trying to be honourable and not speak badly about Dorit in public. But, I mean, that could also all be an act to get people on his side while he's off out with Mauricio and Dorit is home with the kids, struggling to pay the mortgage. It's all just one big mess in my eyes, and I'd be really interested to see how this plays out in court and what a judge decides. As always, I'd love to hear all your thoughts in the comments below, so let me know whose side you're on. And please don't forget to like, hype, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more reality TV news and updates on this messy divorce as it happens. Thanks for watching.